Welcome back. Rick Walsh is an antitrust attorney with Lewis Rice. Rick, thank you for coming in. You're an expert at these things, and here's really what I want to know. The NFL never wins lawsuits. They never win. So if Stan Kroenke up and wants to move his team, how are they going to stop it?
Well, thanks for having me, Rich. I think you make a good point. The NFL's record in any kind of lawsuit, but especially antitrust suits, is very poor. And the Supreme Court recently ruled that they can't just act as one giant entity because it's really more of a cartel. Mm-hmm. And so if someone wants to stop them, they're probably going to be able to. So if he wants to move and he wants to sue them for an antitrust reason to move, he probably can.
So if Stan Kroenke says, I'm taking the Rams to Los Angeles, no matter the rules, the regulations, things they've set up in the league to prohibit these things, there's very little they're going to be able to do about it, in your opinion. Is that correct?
I think that's accurate. I think that obviously they tried to set up some barriers to have him move. But in the past, people have gone right through this. Mm-hmm. When the Rams came here in 1995, the NFL owners voted against it. 20-something people voted against it. The city and the state voted or threatened to sue them, and 2 months later they voted 26 people to move. So the same thing would probably happen. And here they're moving back to a city, and they're moving to the second largest media market. So the idea of the NFL not wanting to be there is probably inaccurate.
Stan Kroenke portrayed certainly as a villain for Rams fans that don't want to lose a football team. Sometimes that's a little unfair. He's taken a team to Los Angeles. It's not actually a bad city to go to, and when he does that, he's taking his business and putting it in a position to grow great financial wealth, right?
That's understandable. If he moves the team to Los Angeles, it's going to be worth a lot more money. There's a lot of estimates, hundreds of millions of dollars more if he just moves the exact same thing he has here to there. Mm-hmm. Obviously, he leaves in his wake public interest that is left behind. A lot of people have built a lot of things around that, but the way that they came here was somewhat short-sighted to allow them this out, after such a short period of time.
Talking with antitrust attorney Rick Walsh, maybe the villain goes back quite a few years. Maybe the villain is the person who agreed to a clause with then the Trans World Dome saying if this isn't top tier so many years down the road, you can get out of that clause and do whatever you want. That's silly. That's goofiness.
Yeah, it's very short-sighted if you think of it. There's only a few other cities that have things like that. Kansas City does, Cincinnati, and I believe San Diego. But since they've moved here, there's been 20 new stadiums that have been built. So the idea that we're not going to be, that there's not 8 stadiums that are better than the one that was built here in that short period of time is not going to happen. So.
And I'm not a fan of the Dome. I don't like playing football indoors, but it's not exactly run down. When they built new Busch Stadium, concrete was falling down. This place has luxury boxes. It has plenty of seats that Rams fans don't really go to, but it's not terrible.
Yeah, they've made a lot of improvements, and they've tried a lot. But with that clause that says you have to meet 25% of the top people, right, and you're competing against the Texas Stadium, you're competing against the new stadium in New York, you're competing against these stadiums that are $1 billion, $1.3 billion. Mm-hmm. That's a significant thing to compete against.
The Rams in 2014 were dead last when it comes to franchise net worth. I think they've raised a couple, according to Forbes, recently. But if you move to Los Angeles, build a new stadium, give me a kind of a ballpark what the net worth is going to jump like.
Well, I think by any measure of value, what's being reported is that it's going to be at least $400 to $1 billion more than what they have right now. Mm-hmm. So you can understand why a person wants to move because of that.
And really, you can't begrudge a person who's going to make that kind of dough, can you?
Well, you understand.
I guess we can.
Yeah. Well, we as a city can, obviously, but and there's very few opportunities for the city to try to stop it. I know Baltimore tried to stop their move, and so did Oakland by saying eminent domain and trying to take over the actual team. Both of those were stopped on legal technicalities, but we probably have less likelihood of doing that since they've only been here 20 years.
Rick, thank you very much for joining us and really explaining some of the issues to the folks watching today, because it's a complex subject.
Thanks, Rich.
Thank you. We're back to close things out on Sunday Sports Extra right after this.